For weeks, his supporters have queued in the freezing snow. Thousands upon thousands of Russians registering their names to back his long-shot presidential bid. The sheer number of them so unexpected, extra sign-up centres had to be added in Moscow. This is the man they believe should be president, Boris Nadezhdin, a 60-year-old political veteran, a guitarist with a keen eye for social media, but most notably a pacifist who opposes the Kremlin's war in Ukraine and isn't afraid to say so. This is him last month visiting the wives of Russian soldiers and telling reporters the country wants the so-called special military operation to stop. But his presidential race may end before it really begins. He submitted the over 100,000 signatures required to run last week. But Russia's Central Election Commission says it found irregularities in his registrations and is threatening to disqualify him. Running against Vladimir Putin often ends badly for those who have tried. At best, critics are disqualified and at worst, assassinated. In the last decade alone, high-profile opponents Boris Nemtsov shot and killed, Vladimir Kara-Murza poisoned and jailed, as was Alexei Navalny. Mr. Nadezhdin chooses his words carefully to try and stay in the race and out of prison or worse. His supporters will discover tomorrow if he can run. Well, earlier I spoke to Boris Nadezhdin himself and began by asking if his growing popularity has become problematic for the Kremlin.
I would say that due to this great support, I have encountered with big problems in the registration and Central Election Committee. Because if my real level of support was 1% or 2%, I will have no problem with registration as candidate. But when I became very popular in Russia and the level of support 5% each week. We rise 5% each week. And now we have, I think, 15 or 20%. In this situation, tomorrow I will have a big problem in registration, I think.
So officials are saying that they're finding all sorts of errors in your endorsement signatures. So do you expect to be barred then?
We have very strange system, frankly speaking, very strange system. If just 5% of these signatures will be not very good, I cannot be registered.
Yeah. So you will be barred. It is inevitable, is it?
Yes.
So in that case, what is the point of having stood? You know, are you in some ways just participating in an illusion of democracy, and that the honest truth is that Vladimir Putin is more powerful, perhaps, than he has ever been?
Of course, in Russia, unfortunately, we have no fair and free elections. I understand this. But I see no other good way to change the country. I see no other good way. All the ways like something like revolt, revolution, Maidan, etc., is very bad. So if I will be barred from election ballot, tomorrow I will go to the Russian Supreme Court, then to the Constitutional Court.
Right, so you will continue to fight if you are barred tomorrow?
Yes, of course.
But aren't you scared because you've seen what happens to the president's opponents?
I know for 20 years I'm in a position and I am still alive, I am still free. And I suppose it's due to my style of politics. I always run in absolute accordance with Russian constitution, in absolute accordance with Russian laws.
Right, so you're very careful.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very careful. And I have two very strong distinctions from, for example, Alexei Navalny, very big. Number one, I am familiar personally for the main figures of Russian politics. Sometimes I drank tea with Mr. Putin, with Mr. Kirienko and some officials. Of course, it was many, many years before. And second, I never criticized Mr. Putin personally, never.
Right.
Because I'm sure that it's not a good idea. I criticize his politics, I criticize his decision, but not him. So just 1 minute, because I currently run the election, and several seconds, because
I see, right. You're what are you doing? Tell us what you're doing.
Okay, I gave some directions to my staff because I connected with him, but...
I'll let you get back to your campaigning responsibilities in just a second, but I wanted to ask you, Vladimir Putin could, in theory, be president for another 12 years. What would that mean for your country, do you think?
I do not believe that President Putin will be in office for 6 years. I do not believe in this.
Why not? What do you think will... I mean, assuming you don't win, what else would happen?
Because I see the emotions, I see the understanding of people in Russia. This understanding is changing dramatically.
Finally, and pertinent to that, your surname, Nadezhdin, has its roots in the word hope. So how hopeful can you be about your country's future, given everything that is happening now?
Frankly speaking, I'm sure that really people signed not for me, they signed for the future of their children and grandchildren, of course. And I believe in Russia, how to say, the way to freedom and the way to peace of all the great nations, like Britain's, for example, was not very straight, We, in the very beginning of this way, but I'm absolutely sure that we will go this way.
Well, let's hope so. Boris Nadezhdin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Okay, bye.